good evening and welcome to Season 2, Episode 28 of the Big at the Back podcast. My name is Tom. I'm here with Matt. Matt, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It is Tuesday night. The fantasy week is over. It makes a nice change that we're not like mid of a double game week for once, but that will come again soon enough. Chelsea are about to kick off in the Champions League because their game was delayed by 10 minutes for some reason. But yeah, no, not bad. And I won. My Sunday League team won again at the weekend. Another clean sheet for me, back to back. We're pushing for promotion. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, it feels nice not having a load of midweek double game weeks and having the carnage. Although it's just a really brief respite from it because we're going to kick that off again in literally 4 days. So all to play for, all loads of fun. I'm feeling pretty good. I had a pretty good week on FPL this week. How did you do?
Show off. How did I do?
Caveat, I did transfer out Gakpo and Darwin. So it could have been way better if I'd have just left my team the hell alone.
That's always the disgusting thing, isn't it? But well, at least you still had a good week. So for me, it's 34 points with a 4-point hit. So 30 is the finishing total, well below average. Red arrows again. That top 1 million is looking a lot further away now. But it's Kepa in goal with 6, a back three of Trippier, Mitchell, and Tarkowski. So a grand total of 3 points between the three of them. A midfield of no returns. Ødegaard and Rashford with 2, De Bruyne with 3, and Saka with 2, doubled up to 4 as my captain. Felt really smug when Haaland only got 1 assist in the early kickoff. But it also obviously came back to bite me in the arse. And then the front three of Watkins with 2, who I brought in this week, Haaland with 4, and Ivan Toney, my one shining light of a transfer who came in with 8 points. Slightly annoying with Ward being benched, but we discussed this. It was the right call. You wouldn't be starting Ward over Kepa with those fixtures, and the penalty save is just one of those things. And Andreas Pereira on the bench with 8 points as well. So yeah, it was disappointing. Down to like 1.6 million in the world now. So it's not looking great. What was your final score while I slit my wrists?
Well, just a caveat, it was a good week to have a bad week because the average points wasn't high. A lot of people had a bad week. A lot of people were moving out, Liverpool assets, for example. So the real winners are actually the dead teams that have still got Salah as captain.
Yeah.
All of us that actually continuously play FPL clearly weren't winning this week. So a better week for me. I ended on 60 points, -4, so that's 56. Like you, Kepa in goal with Ward on the bench. Again, bit annoying, but the way Leicester are playing at the moment, they will concede goals, as we know, but penalty save, just you can't plan for that. Ben White's starting on the bench and coming on to get a goal was really jammy, but I'll take it. Trent and Badashai both with a clean sheet, which was nice. Midfield, I had Saka, Rashford, and Ødegaard all blanking. Saka as my captain. I have Mitoma, who I brought in for Gakpo, getting 13 points for immediately paying back the transfer. And up front, I had Ivan Toney like you, then I had Haaland and João Felix as well, who continues to be a massive disappointment ever since I moved him in to my FPL team. Andreas was third sub, so he was never coming on. I'm not too bothered about that at all. But overall, a strong week. I'm back in the top 500k, so overall rank of 476,000. I still think I can make a push for that top 100k. I will also note as well that it was around this time last year that you turned it around. I think it was game week 29, actually. You just started on an absolute rampage and tear up. You went from about 2 million to about 80,000. So remains to be seen if you can do similarly this year.
I'm not holding my breath, but it would be nice. Maybe that wild card when I play it in the next couple of weeks will be that thing that can hopefully springboard me on to bigger and better things. But yeah, it looks like things just aren't going our way at the moment. These sort of high ownership players really are letting us down at the moment. The likes of the last few weeks with KDB obviously has been a disappointment. Haaland isn't hitting the same heights he has done in the last couple of months. Even like the Arsenal assets now, they're sort of, Ben White obviously was the big one for this week with that return, but they're just not hitting those consistent levels that they were in the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks. So I think, and as a lot of people wildcard, it's going to be interesting to see where they go with them, because I feel like now we're sort of the template's shifting, and we spoke a few weeks ago about whether the template was broken or not. And I feel like since that, it's got even worse for the template team.
Yeah, I agree. And I was actually going to go back to that conversation we had. I think now is the time where teams are going to start looking different, where your differentials are start counting, because the template picks aren't doing particularly well. Odegaard and Saka, they're ticking along, but they're not pulling up trees. Haaland not nearly doing as well as he has been. Defensively, Trippier has put a string of ones and zeros together. So I definitely think it's time to start innovating and time to start experimenting a bit. But if we're going to speak about this weekend, loads of people, including both of us, moved out Liverpool assets. They're out of form, or somewhat out of form, Liverpool, playing against a Manchester United team who are banging form, just won a trophy. The writing's on the wall. Liverpool assets aren't going to do well. I'm still very happy about this. So let's discuss. Liverpool 7, Manchester United 0 at Anfield. And look, I own Trent and he didn't get any attacking returns, which is really weird in a 7-0 win. But what a game. I'm still over the moon about it. It was glorious in that second half. As a slightly more neutral watching the game, what were your thoughts?
I said this at the time in a group chat that we were in, and I genuinely think it's probably one of the most shocking Premier League results ever. You can probably count on one hand the amount of times there's been a result that's really thrown me off that much. Just because, obviously not like maybe last year, the year before, you'd have looked at Liverpool 7, Man United 0 and gone, you know what? It's not that big of a surprise. It's still a big scoreline, obviously, but the way Man United have been playing, the way Liverpool have been playing, like you say, United have just come off of winning a trophy, so they're on that high. To then just absolutely capitulate, and some of their performances were an absolute embarrassment. So, I mean, I was around my parents actually while this was on, and my mum was like out in the cooking dinner in the kitchen for a lot of it. She's like, out of my parents, she's the bigger football fan. So every time I was shouting, there's another one, she's like, fuck off, seriously, how can this be happening? It was just crazy. I genuinely couldn't believe it. And the fact, like, it's hard to believe it was only 1-0 at half time, like looking back at it now. And it was like just on the brink of half time as well. And then that second half, it was off a cliff.
Well, the first half was relatively even. Liverpool got the goal before the break, but you probably did fancy Man U's had a go at getting back into it. But when that second goal went in, we just went on an absolute tear and United completely fell to bits. It was absolutely joyous. Joyous?
Right, Sean Connery.
I was going to say, really putting it on there. It was joyous to watch, and I really did love the way Liverpool played. It was a flashback to 3 years ago. Gakpo was sensational. We've got to start talking about Darwin Núñez, because everyone's kind of gone and labelled him a flop in the Premier League when he's clearly just not. I think I texted you earlier, but his goal contribution, he's got a goal contribution every 117 minutes in the league this season. To put it in perspective, that's better than Saka. That's better than Gabriel Jesus. That's better than Marcus Rashford, who's apparently having the best form of his life. It's less than half of Raheem Sterling. It's less than a third of what Anthony is for Manchester United. So I think Darwin Núñez is the real deal and is really, really top class. And he's starting to really come into his own and prove that. So as a Liverpool fan, I'm delighted and I absolutely love him.
Yeah, I think people, anyone that said he's a flop has been very much exaggerating. People have been saying things because obviously he's missed big chances, which any striker at that age is going to do. You get freaks like Mbappe when they're young. They just seem to snap up everything that comes their way. But the majority of strikers are going to struggle in front of goal at times. It's highly unlikely, or like Haaland, who just like buries chances for fun. So, yeah, anyone that said he was is a flop is massively overstating things. I had him in my team at the start of the season. I've had him in again. Thankfully, I mean, I didn't transfer him out this week. I transferred him out last week, so it doesn't quite sting as much. But yeah, it is good to see. And like you say, it really was reminiscent of the Liverpool team of a few years ago. That front line seriously can cause problems. And the issue that you've had with your defence in the last all season, Man U just didn't really create and cause you any problems. So yeah, it's definitely a good sign for a Liverpool fan.
Well, I think Konate being back was a real difference. He is the only competent partner we have for Virgil van Dijk. And also, I think the key is in that midfield, because Fabinho actually played better than he's played for a long time, which after being out of form for about a year and a half, it's about time. Some good stats from the game, because as a Liverpool fan, I've got to really take advantage of this. James Milner has played in teams who have scored 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 goals in games against Manchester United, which is incredible. And since joining Liverpool, Mo Salah has more yellow cards from celebrating goals against Manchester United at Anfield than Manchester United have goals at Anfield. I mean,
mental.
It's absolutely mental and absolutely ludicrous. But Salah against Man U every season, twice a season, always turns it on. In the second half of last season, when we were all moving off Salah, the one game he really did perform was H1 levels, if you like, was against Manchester United. He got to about 21 points. So I think if you'd have looked at historical context, the writing was probably on the wall. We just didn't see it coming because Man U were apparently in such good form. Bruno Fernandes was a disgrace, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he looked like he was sulking that he wasn't being subbed off when Man U were making subs. And that, as your captain, that is unforgivable. There's been calls from certain pundits to strip him of the captaincy. We'll obviously see what happens there. Ten Hag doesn't strike me as the kind of person that will take things like that lightly. He will definitely have a lot to say about that. So it will be interesting to see what they do. Obviously, next week is Southampton at home, and you feel like they really need a big performance to bounce back from that. So, United assets could be an interesting one to watch this week.
Yeah, they've got to really, really come back. Otherwise, their whole season could derail. So I think a statement against Southampton seems likely. That being said, and we'll get to transfers in a minute, I think I am probably going to be dropping Luke Shaw because he was just so poor against Liverpool. As far as Manchester United assets go, though, I think Marcus Rashford has to stay. He's earned that stay of execution in our teams. And yeah, he's the only one I'd really be considering at the moment, considering they blank in 28.
Yeah, that's it really, isn't it? If we're negotiating this blank as we are without using any chips, you've got to make some moves somewhere. And if you've got more than one United asset, then that's probably where you're going to make something at the moment. My question to you actually is, as someone else who's just shipped their Liverpool assets, what are you thinking for Liverpool in the medium to long term after this next couple of weeks? Because we've both got this wild card in our pocket. So Liverpool blank in 28, in 29 it's City and Chelsea, and in 30 it's Arsenal. So there's 3. Chelsea, can you really call Chelsea a tough game anymore? But it's 3 trickier fixtures before the fixtures then get quite a lot easier again. So what would you be thinking about in terms of Liverpool assets?
I actually think my wild card is going to be around Liverpool assets. So I've still got Trent in my team at the moment. Frankly, he's not going to be going anywhere. I think next week in the blank game week, I'm actually just going to bench Trent, Haaland and Rashford as my 3, and I'll have 11 other players. So that's my plan at the moment. Trent will probably stay, and then I'll actually most likely be looking to use my wild card after game week 30 and just go triple Liverpool, because they've got Leeds away, Forest at home and West Ham away, which I think are 3 really tasty games, and there's a potential double in there, I'm sure, in around game week 32 or 37 or something.
Potentially even 2 doubles.
Exactly. So I will almost certainly be. There's a potential. We'll come to my chip plans in a minute, but I've got Trent. I'll hold him throughout, but other ones I definitely will be on my radar to bring in when I do World Cup.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think I'm still undecided on my wild card. Part of me is tempted just to hit it in 29. But I'm sort of flying by the seat of my pants week by week at the moment with the way things are going. So, yeah, it's a lot harder for me to think too far ahead than the current week with the performance that I've been churning out lately.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's not ideal scenario, is it? I'm also, I think because of the runner in, if you've got a Liverpool, you hold for this game week just because they've got Bournemouth, but then after that, you probably leave them in 29 and 30, then you go all in on them. So that's my thinking. Manchester United are a bit more difficult because the next game is Southampton, and then they've got Newcastle and Brentford, and then from 30 onwards, they've actually got decent fixtures. So Everton, Forest, Chelsea, Tottenham. Oh, that Tottenham game in 33 could be really big, couldn't it? So I think there is potential there, but I think Rashford's the only option there. Liverpool's a bit more tricky because there's so many of them you could go for.
Yeah, I'm finding it hard to get excited about anyone at the moment, and that's obviously a sort of indicative of the way I've been. My transfers just seem to all backfire at the moment, so I find it hard to get excited about any of them just because I know they're going to disappoint me. Must be how my parents feel.
You took the words out of my mouth there. Let's look then at this week ahead because Brighton and Brentford both have double game weeks. Brighton have Leeds away and Crystal Palace at home. Brentford have Everton away and Southampton away. However, a lot of players with single game weeks also have excellent fixtures. So
don't forget Palace's juicy double of City and Brighton.
They're not even worth mentioning. Haaland.
So you're not getting your Southampton assets in for United away and Brentford at home.
I can't say I am. I mean, maybe there's an argument for James Ward-Prowse, maybe, but I'm just not interested considering how many good midfielders there are.
I like how you say that as though James Ward-Prowse is not a good midfielder.
He's not. Sorry, he's such a big fish in a small pond. You put him in that Man U team and he absolutely crumbles. He's the new Fred. So
Fred's having a career resurgence.
Yeah, I mean he's the Fred from last season, but permanently. That's what James is. So yeah, no, not interested. I think though that there is definitely scope to actually captain a single game weeker this game week. Haaland's playing Crystal Palace, a team really out of form. Rashford's playing Southampton. Iheanacho's playing Chelsea. There's options here. That's all I'm going to say.
I would say there's the Liverpool options, but it's the early kickoff, so you can't.
Yeah, you don't go near the early kickoff. And they're away as well. You've got to travel from Liverpool to Bournemouth. I don't know. I think the players will really struggle against Bournemouth in that fixture, just like we did in the last one.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? It's coming down from, and we saw it with United, off the back of winning a trophy for the first time in God knows how long, and then just falling flat down to earth. Whether that was an overconfidence issue or anything like that, we don't know. But obviously, Liverpool will have to combat that same sort of thing. And I believe I'm right in saying that. Oh no, I am not right in saying I'm getting Man United confused. Man United play on Thursday, not Liverpool. So Man United obviously have their Europa League game on Thursday night.
Yeah, they do. So I have to wait and see on that one. I do think though that Rashford with Southampton at home is a potential good captaincy option. Otherwise, you're looking really at Ivan Toney, Mitoma, or McAllister. So putting it on a Brentford or Brighton player. I don't think Haaland is really worthwhile. I'm a Liverpool fan, but I'm not sure if I had a Liverpool player, I'd be captaining one of their players in the early kickoff. So I'm of the opinion that there's 4 captaincy options: McAllister, Mitoma, Toney, and Rashford. Out of those, how would you rank them?
Again, this is the double game week trap for me. Obviously, Brighton had a fantastic result last weekend, with the caveat that it was against West Ham, who were, one, shocking on the day, but two, have such a poor record against Brighton anyway, that we always write that game off, both games off at the start of the season. So quite the level of disappointment that came after that game, though. And something I don't do often is I switch the game off. At 3-0, I'd had enough. But so I would say that the double game weekers, as tempting as they are, I would probably be looking at Rashford. I feel like they've got to prove a point and they've got to bounce back. Their home form has been much better. Like at Old Trafford, they just seem to be, the crowd gets behind them, they get that extra level. A bit like how we saw what happened with Liverpool, really, when the cop gets behind them, it just sort of sucks the ball in. So I would probably go Rashford at the top. I'd probably honestly put Tony second. I feel like he is a man that's like really got the bit between his teeth, fighting to prove a point. Obviously, he only scored a penalty on Monday night, but just his overall game and the two teams that he played, I know they're both away games, but Everton and Southampton are both teams that have been shipping goals. So, and then I'd say either of your potential Brighton assets, whoever you might have, Mitoma, McAllister, even if you've got March or someone like that, I'd put them all on a similar level.
I wouldn't have Solly March in the same conversation as Mitoma and McAllister on the basis of, if you take out that one Liverpool game that was an anomaly, his underlying stats aren't nearly as strong.
No, I agree.
So I think it's McAllister or Mitoma. I completely disagree with you in terms of the ordering. I think you're looking at Mitoma as the number one, then Tony, then McAllister, then Rashford. Double game weeks take priority over single game weeks as a start. There's just a much higher floor. And with Mitoma, if you look at what the floor is in this double game week, he's in form. Brighton are probably going to keep at least one clean sheet. So that's assuming they do, that's 5 points. And that's assuming 0 attacking returns. Over 2 games, you can probably give him an assist. That's 8 points. And that's lowest expectations. That's the floor of what Mitoma can achieve. If you look at Tony, his floor is probably 4 points, just no returns in 2 games, which is FPL. It can happen. I wouldn't say it's likely. I think he's still a great option. McAllister, while he's playing in at number 10, very effective, but I think his floor is 5. I don't think you can guarantee, or I don't think he's super, super likely to be getting an attacking return, not nearly as much as Mitoma. And then Rashford, it's a single game weeks. And as we saw this week, his floor is 2 points. So I think Mitoma is probably going to be my captain for this week. Then Tony, then McAllister, then Rashford. The reason Tony isn't as high as well is because his ban could happen any day. I think he's worth having, but if his ban does come into play, say halfway through the double game week, then you don't want to have your armband on him. So it's a bit of defensive work there as well. So that
would be an absolute killer, wouldn't it, if it came halfway? Because that's the thing at the moment. Obviously, by the time you get to the deadline of a single game week, if he's probably going to be serving the ban in that week. And I guess unless they're playing on like a Monday night and there's a Friday night game, but even then, I don't think the ban would come into effect that quickly. As stupid as it sounds, like your working week finishes on a Friday, so I don't expect they'd announce something later than a Friday afternoon. And obviously, by then the deadline, there's no deadline prior to that. So, but the issue is then if that say this weekend, he's fine to play on Saturday, but then say on Monday they announce his ban, he can't play in the second one. So that's always the worry, and it's sort of hanging over his head. So I understand why you'd be very tentative to captain him.
Yeah, and that's my perspective on it at the moment. So at the moment, Mitoma has got my armband in my best team, and he's likely going to be keeping it. Just because he's as likely as anyone to go off this game week. So I think I also think he's a really fun player to watch. So putting the armband on him just feels really fun. And Leeds away, Leeds are shocking at the moment. Palace at home, Palace have really dried up, and then letting chances against them. So I think he's a really nice option. Does bring us nicely onto our next subject, which is Brighton and Brentford. Which players are worth owning?
Any ones that I don't own.
Who do you own from the two clubs? So you own Ivan Toney.
At the moment, he is the only one. So
Is this
I
a free
am.
territory for you?
I don't think so.
You could, because you're essentially set for game week 28. So I would strongly consider in your position free hitting. You could literally go 2 or 3 Newcastle, 3 Brighton, 3 Brentford, Rashford, and Kane this week. Maybe Haaland as well. Maybe even no Arsenal this week, actually, away to Fulham. That's not an easy game. I think that's free hit territory. If I was in your position, I'd be free hitting.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a potential. Obviously, the initial idea around the free hit was to save it for sort of FA Cup semi-finals. But looking at the way those semi-finals are lining up, you're not probably going to have a lot of the assets from those teams. So instantly, often we get to the point where it's 4 Premier League teams in the semi-finals. So that's 4 instant blanks. But I mean, at least one of the semi-finals is going to be... you're going to have a non-Premier League side in there, the way the quarterfinal lineup is. So, yeah, it's something I'm going to look at over the next few days just to really assess my options and think, okay, if I do take my free hit, how have I got to line up looking ahead to those semi-finals? But then again, like we spoke about last week, what's the fucking point in long-term planning anymore? So I might just fucking go for it. Because, I mean, Mitoma would obviously be one I'd be looking to bring in. The other thing I'd want to do, I was thinking potential transfer-wise, was Mitoma in for Andreas Pereira, and Rico Lewis out for a probably Brighton defender. So, but yeah, there's definitely a reasonable thought to free hitting now.
In your situation, I'd definitely be free hitting because then you can triple up on Brighton, which a lot of people won't be doing because of game week 28. It means you can triple up on Brentford, which is, to be honest, you're really going to want to for this game weekend 28. You can get rid of Arsenal for their one game and really, really go hard in on the Man U and Liverpool assets for 1 week as well. I think there's so much upside in free hitting this week in your position. Now, I'm in a slightly different position. I've taken a -4 and I've got 4 doublers. So I'm completely fine with where I am. So the players I've got in my team, to give some context, are from the Brighton and Brentford. I've got Ivan Toney, obviously double game week against Everton and Southampton. I've got Mitoma, who's got my armband. I've got Jensen for Brentford, who in that midfield slot, and I've got Ben Mee in defence as well. On the basis of Ben Mee is probably the most certain of the Brentford defenders. I just want someone that's definitely going to be starting both games. Again, I think there's an easy clean sheet against Everton and probably a good chance for clean sheet against Southampton as well. So those are the 4 doublers I have. And I don't think, considering I'm not planning on free hitting, I don't think I'd be looking at any more doubling players. If I was free hitting or in a position where a free hit would be really beneficial, then I would be looking to bring in McAllister. I would be looking to bring in Estupinian. So I think as far as Brighton go, there's really, really good options there. And in your position with only 1 doubler, I would be pressing that free hit button.
Well, you know what, Tom? You've convinced me. Fuck it. The way my season's going, this could be a turning point. If I get a fucking big week out of this, it could really push me on.
I could have just screwed myself in our big at the back bets, couldn't I?
Oh, but probably not. It's a fucking long way to go for me to catch you, mate.
What's your overall points out of interest? Because you're probably not as far away as you think. I'm on 1602.
1527.
So that's catchable.
75.
Yeah, that's definitely catchable. But yeah, I think there's so much upside in a free hit for you. You could go triple Newcastle against Wolves, or at least double Newcastle against Wolves. You wouldn't have to play Kepa against Leicester. I would definitely be looking at a free hit. So
I could even go for Steele in goal. No, I'm not going to do that.
Imagine this. Well, surely you go Raya, right? And then just go for a Estupinian, Mitoma. I don't know. There's something there. There's quite a few combinations you could go with. Maybe even David De Gea.
I'm going to start tinkering soon. I'll probably straight after this pod, I'll start fiddling. And then once I've finished fiddling, I'll look at my fantasy team.
I knew that was coming. I knew that immediately. So it kind of brings us nicely on, because I mentioned dropping your Arsenal guys on a free hit, because I definitely would be. Arsenal midfielders, I've had Odegaard, I've had Saka. I've not been that impressed recently. And Ben White's got the goal, really, really, really jammy. I think I'm happy to start thinking about moving them on at some point soon. Now, I'm going to hold them for 28. And I've put my team together. They're both starting this weekend. So I've got Saka and Odegaard both starting. But I'm not seeing what I want out of Arsenal midfielders. For a team top of the league, they're not doing as much as I would want them to. So I think there is definitely scope for moving them on. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree, in theory anyway. But that being said, the Fulham away is not an easy fixture. But having that fixture in 28 and those two fixtures of Crystal Palace and Leeds at home in 28 and 29, and they're both good fixtures. So I'd be wanting to hold them for that. And then you can maybe think about moving them on. It's Liverpool away after that. But then it's West Ham away, and that'll probably be a fucking easy 3 points again. So I'd be holding for at least the next couple of weeks. I think anything else would be a little bit short-sighted. But yeah, there's definitely scope to be looking at them now. I mean, it seems that Saka at the moment is shit or bust. His last 5 weeks have been 2-15, 6-15, and 2. So Odegaard seems to get a bit lucky every now and then with his bonus points, but it just feels like they're a little bit erratic at the moment. Maybe the pressure of leading the league is getting to them a little bit. I mean, they're scraping through with the results. Maybe I'll get Reece Nelson in.
For all those listening, do not get Reece Nelson on FPL.
Boo.
I mean, Arsenal's result at the weekend was phenomenal. They were losing for about 96 and a half minutes and then popped up with the win. Oh, it's just incredible. And that's the first time I've turned around and said, I believe Arsenal can win the league this year. So I'm delighted to see it, and it's making for a really compelling title race.
Kai Havertz has just hit the post.
Great footballer. Wonderful player.
I think it might have been a save, actually. But yeah.
You can't save Kai Havertz. He's too good.
He can't save himself.
No,
it was not a save. He just banged the post.
There is, you and I were discussing it a bit over WhatsApp before the podcast. I can see a world where someone benches Haaland this week.
Yeah, I can't see it. I just think if you've got that much money invested in someone, and yes, his away form hasn't been as good, but he's still earning Haaland. And if you've got that much money invested in a striker who has been blowing away goal-scoring records in the Premier League since he signed, I think you're a mentalist if you want to bench him.
Okay, let me do a player A or player B conversation with you, and you can tell me who you start and who you bench this week. Rashford or Haaland?
Haaland.
Is that who you bench?
Yeah.
Okay. Mitoma or Haaland?
I mean, if you're going double game weekers, any of the double game weekers get a start over him, probably. Okay. Unless it's, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some shit player that plays for Brentford, but I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. Like Mikkel Damsgaard.
So I was going to say Mitoma, McAllister, and a Brentford midfielder, say Jensen, because he's their best one. But all of them would start over Haaland this week.
Nah, Jensen. I'd start Haaland over Jensen.
Okay, I wouldn't, because double game week. Mo Salah against Bournemouth.
Early kickoff, bench Salah.
Completely disagree. Ivan Toney and Harry Kane. Both of
Toney starts. Kane, probably starts because it's Forest. Forest's away form's really bad. But then again, like fucking Spurs. I just don't understand Spurs at the moment.
I don't know if I was on a free hit if I'd have Haaland starting this week. I really don't. I
think there's a difference between free hitting and benching him if he's in your team.
But here's part of the thing. Okay, so let's reframe the question.
If you're free hitting, you either play him or he's not in your free hit.
What if you're not planning on free hitting, but your other players are like Rashford, Matoma, McAllister, Tony, Kane, Salah? I do think there is scope to bench Erling Haaland in that scenario. Now, it's an unlikely scenario, but it is a scenario. And I think if you're free hitting, you don't have Erling Haaland this week. I think you bring in Raheem Sterling instead.
Fuck off. I'd rather chop my balls off with a rusty knife than bring Raheem Sterling into my team.
Dad, if you're listening, I'm sorry.
I'm not. Actually, I am sorry, but I'm just sorry that Tom is your son.
Excellent. So the next point on the agenda was actually our plan for the game week, but I think we've kind of covered that. I'm really excited to see your free hit team, though. Shall we start putting it together now on stream?
Yeah, go on then. So let's start by taking everyone out. So those goalkeeper slots, I think Raya's got to be in there.
Yeah, I think so as well. Just in terms of there's no other goalkeeper who you would necessarily want this game week. Maybe De Gea, if you really wanted to have 3 Brentford outfield players. But having Raya there means that you don't necessarily have to touch Brentford midfielders. You can just go like a Ben Mee or an Ivan Toney or something like that. Or you could get really wild and go Tony and Mbemo.
Here we go.
Matt, for the podcasters, Matt is sharing his screen. We're going to structure his current free hits. So I think you're going to David Raya and a really shit goalkeeper.
Alisson.
I got there first. So yeah, I think David Raya is the place you go with that.
Then let's just say the second keeper is going to be anyone. Up front, you've won Tony. Well, let's players that you definitely 100% want. So let's look at 3 Brighton and 3 Brentford. So 3 Brentford, I think you start with Raya, you keep Tony, and then who's the 3rd Brentford you want? Mbemo. I don't know, but I was thinking defender, but doubling up seems a little bit risky on their defenders.
Here's an XG of about 28 in the first half. Mbemo did. I think he's a really nice differential option.
Yeah, if he was a midfielder, I'd be all over it, I think. But having him as a second striker, it just feels like an extra spot that I don't really want to put in there.
Fair enough. I guess you're looking at the midfielders or the defenders then. So in that case, defenders.
Yeah, I'm thinking it might have to be like fucking. Is Ben Mee the option?
I think so. He's guaranteed to start. And don't get me wrong, Henry and Pinnock are both starting games as well, but I think Ben Mee is the one will be there.
He's in.
Brilliant. Now the team to go.
How's Andreas Pereira still here? What are you doing there? Get out of here, mate.
It's a permanent fixture in your team. Now the team to go for is Brighton. So for the podcast listeners, Matt has gone for David Raya, Ben Mee, and Ivan Toney. So now Brighton, with their double game week of Leeds away and Crystal Palace at home, you straight away put in Mitoma and McAllister and Estupinian. That was easy.
I feel like that seems sensible. That seems the most obvious, doesn't it?
It does. And they would be my 3 as well. I also think you can press the X on Rashford because he needs to be in the team in that midfield spot.
You are correct.
Then I think it's a bit more open. So if you look at the teams with great fixtures, I think Liverpool have Bournemouth away. So I think you are going to have budget in this team. I think you go Salah. If I'm in your position, you go Salah because you've got midfield availability. You don't want to go Darwin because then that takes a spot up front. But I think Mo Salah is a really great free hit option here.
Yeah, I think he's got to be in there. And then do I bring back Andrew Robertson?
Surely, if you go for one, you go for Alexander-Arnold because Robertson has decent enough deputy in Tsimikas that his starts aren't always guaranteed, or he could come off at 60 minutes. Whereas Trent's backup is Joe Gomez, who is awful. So I think
Let's go Trent for now, and then we should be all right budget-wise. I need to put my shit keeper in.
Yeah, I definitely... Kane is the obvious one for me as well. Like Spurs have got Forest at home. So I think Harry Kane is a really easy pick. And speaking of...
Asmir Begovic is my backup. Asmir Begovic is my backup goalkeeper.
Excellent. Yeah, speaking of single game weekers who could be worth the captaincy, I think Harry Kane is there.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout. But Forest at home, like I say, their home form has been awful.
No, Forest away.
Sorry, their away form. Yeah, Forest away form has been awful. Like their home form is what will keep them up, despite drawing 2-2 with Everton at the weekend. That was an interesting game. But yeah, I just they lost 4-0 to West Ham in their last away game, so that says it all.
Talk us through what budget you have left. I think you want to be Newcastle as well, right?
Yeah, so 24.1 in the bank, 2 defenders, a midfielder, and a striker to fill. So, I mean, surely Kieran Trippier is the man.
Yeah, you've got to think so. Have you taken Trippier out and lost money on him in a free hit? I just cancelled the 3 defenders you've got there for Trippier's spot. So you've got a bit more money to play with. There you go. So now,
of course, he was the last one that I fucking got rid of. It just had to be, didn't it?
Yeah. So now I just put Trent, Estupinian, and me back in.
You back in? You're not in.
I am a great FPL asset. Thomas Madden, Brighton defender, stealing the show. There we go.
So we're left with 18.6, with 1 of each to fill. So do I go with another Newcastle player? But I feel like Newcastle, I don't know, especially attacking, I feel like it's not coming off for them at the moment.
Almiron, Wilson? I mean, these are...
Wilson scored 1 in his last 13 games.
Yeah, these 3 players are probably going to be your bench players, but we might as well put decent enough players in.
Oh my God. Kai Havertz has scored. Oh, it's offside.
These are going to be your bench players. So you could probably have at least one that's 4.1 or something on a 4.0. But then giving yourself the option, is there anyone else up front you would want?
I'm just looking at other players. I mean, I could, in theory, go with Darwin.
Oh, that would be a bit of a wild card. I like it.
I've got the money, 18.6, and then I can just have a couple of bench fodders in these last 2 spots.
Yeah, I like it. Do it.
Even then, I've still got 9.8 million for a midfielder and a defender. So that's...
What's the best midfielder you can get for 7 million?
I mean, I can't get that expensive.
You could just put Odegaard. No, you can't actually. Just go with a really cheap defender because you're not going to play more than 4 defenders, are you? So just go with the cheapest possible defender and then see what we got left.
There we go. Let's get Harrison Ashby in.
Harrison Ashby, nice.
Harrison Ashby, the man who they stole from West Ham in January.
So you've got 6 million left for a midfielder. Again, this is probably going to be bench fodder. But I would actually... Is Almiron under 6 million?
He is indeed, 5.4.
Yeah, I'd just go Almiron then. Again, you'll probably have him on the bench, but worst case scenario, he comes in. I think that's a really good free hit to him. So,
I'm still looking here, mate. Calm down. Damn it, James Ward-Prowse is too expensive.
I mean, actually, is that an option? Is that a midfield option on a free hit? Is James Ward-Prowse? I would still say no, personally.
No, I would say no. Why don't I just for Bants put Oh, what about Eberiche Eze with his double game week of City away?
Yeah, sod it. What have we got to lose? This player's probably going to be on your bench anyway.
Well, yeah, definitely going to be on my bench. But then if, say, there is an issue with like Salah or Rashford, I've got a double game weeker to come in, potentially.
Can I not tempt you with Wilf Zaha?
He's out of my budget, I'm afraid.
Oh, what a shame. So, talk us through your free hit draft.
So, the free hit draft is Raya in goal with Begovic as my bench for the keeper. Defenders of Ben Mee, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Kieran Trippier, Estupinian and Ashby. Midfielders are Mitoma, McAllister, Salah, Rashford and Eze, Kane, Tony and Darwin as my 3 striking options. So that's a pretty strong squad there. Plenty of captaincy options. Be interesting. I had no idea right now who I put the armband on.
I mean, I'd go. I mean, you know where I'm going with Matoma, but if you want to be different, go McAllister or Tony or something. But yeah, I think that's a really strong lineup. I think, I think you can have an awesome week with that. Free hits.
It sounds fun. And what are we about here? We're about making fantasy fun again.
Exactly. We're not about doing well on fantasy this year, apparently. Where did you finish last year overall rank out of interest? Matt is actually, to caveat this, Matt is normally very good at fantasy. When did you finish last year? Like 50k or something?
No, I don't think I was that high. Let me go and have a look.
You were ahead of me, and I was about 84 or something last year, and you were beating me.
I just need to go to my history.
I have no idea how to even do that.
I can't remember somehow, but I'm currently scratching my brain to try and figure it out.
Yeah, it was top 75k either way. But I think this week could get you really, really high up the rankings, especially given the double game weeks and you're attacking them full throttle and still set up nicely for 28.
God, I did much better than I thought last season. This makes it even more painful.
What did you do last season?
31,000.
Oh, see, there's still opportunity to climb.
This is like by far and away my worst season since my first ever FPL season back in 2012-13, when I was like 1.9 million. Every other season apart from 2016-17, I've been in the top million. But even then, pretty much all of them have been top 500k. So yeah, this is like a really bad year.
There's still time to make it even worse. Like you can do it. Yeah. Sounds good. Well, how very exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing your results. Guys, we're really excited for the next game week, especially now Matt is going to use his free hit. We'll be
Raheem
back.
Sterling has scored a goal, and this one is onside.
Did you make the bet? Did you put money on it?
Fuck, no, I didn't.
No, I'm sorry, I did not like that. It was like Chelsea to win and Raheem Sterling to have a shot on target, boosted to like 3-1, but I wasn't touching that with a barge ball. Guys,
they won't win. They won't win.
I was wrapping up. So you can find us on Twitter. Come and chat to us. We're as stupid there as we are here, and we can be found at Big at the Back.
Yeah, I'm at Higgins92. Tom is at Tom Madden92. Remember, guys, European football midweek. Hold off your transfers. Unless you're free hitting, in which case, go mental.
I've made my transfers. Brentford don't play midweek. I don't care.
You psychopath.
Can't wait for Jensen to get injured now on like Thursday or something.
Yeah.
I had loads of money as well. I just got trigger happy.
Just got me excited. We've all been there.
Whatever. So you can hold off your transfers or you can be an idiot like me. Either way, we can't wait for the game week to kick off, and we can't wait to speak to you all when we review it next week.